it was the strangest thing, because it felt like something came up in me, like this is a feeling I've never had. Like I've just got to do something and set up, like even if it was like it started as a coffee morning, you know, on Green, and a phone was ringing, all the councillors, local councillors, and you know, getting in touch with you know, different people who worked in that area that was pointing me in the right direction. You know, hubs I could use and things. So we did coffee mornings to start with. Then it went from coffee mornings to peer support through lived experience. And then it went from doing the peer support to having student counsellor come to me and say, could I have a placement with you? And then we've now got 20 counsellors, peer support workers. You know, we've got our own hub in Ashton-under-Lyne, 9 Fletcher Street, Ashton-under-Lyne, at the back of the indoor market. We have upstairs a rainbow baby room where families can come and sit in there and have a chat, but the little ones can play. So we've got that room. We've got 2 counselling rooms in there now, and just the main hall kitchen at the back. So, but we are growing out of that space, to be honest with you, because we're growing the team, we're growing the counselling side of it. But we do need...
what a sense of achievement from so much loss. You've got 20 people, 20 counsellors who are supporting people locally.
Well, not just locally, we do GM wide.
Do you?
So, and further afield, because we do remote as well. So if people want to access counselling or peer support remote by Zoom or on the phone.
Wonderful.
You know, we've supported people in Ireland and all different areas.
That's amazing.
Because even though it's just someone on the phone, sometimes people feel like they've got to wear this mask. You know, I've got to wear this mask. I've got to be seen to, you know, have it together. And actually, no, you don't.
No,
you really don't. It's the worst loss you could ever go through. The loss of your baby or child. You know, and you don't have to wear that. But sometimes we try and lie to ourselves. You know, pretend that we're all right.
You've experienced it firsthand though, so it's amazing. You know, every mum, dad, grandma, brother, sister that walks through your door, and all the different stories and different experiences. You'll feel a piece of that every time, won't you? Every time.
Absolutely. Like people who come to me and the families that we look after, I never forget. It's like a family, and even when they're ready to go, you know, if they come in through the bereavement, you know, and we're there supporting through the bereavement, and then they go on to have a baby, and then it's the rainbow baby pregnancy journey. You know, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to go to this appointment, this is happening, am I thinking crazy things? No, you're not.
No, it's the fear of that happening again.
Absolutely.
And you've experienced that firsthand yourself, so to come from a place of understanding where you know, and I know everybody's journey is different, but the thoughts, and to have somebody there to reassure you. I mean, it's huge. I know you've helped my family as well, and that's really how we connected, isn't it? Was through pain, through loss, and then the work that you do is just incredible. And you have wedding dresses, don't you?
We do. We have different projects. So we have Up on Angel's Wings, and this project is it was inspired by a lady. Really, I knew a lady called Anne, and was it Angela? Angela. She set up something very similar, and she, because of ill health, she had to stop doing it, and I was like, no, she can't stop doing it because it's absolutely perfect, you know, we need this. And I did say to her, you know, would you mind if we kind of did the same thing? And she was like, absolutely not, you know, if it needs to be carried on. So it wasn't something that we just created, you know. I will always say that Angela was, you know, she did it, because she used to come to like our events and have stalls, and the dresses are absolutely beautiful. But sadly, because of her ill health, she stopped doing that now.
And they are beautiful, aren't they? They're all made.
So we have seamstresses that come into Finding Rainbows, and we have students as well from Tameside College that do the textiles. They come in and make these little dresses out of wedding dresses. People donate the wedding dresses, and we do these little thank yous. So we make love arts out of a piece of the dress in a little box, and it gets sent back to the person who's donated as well.
That's nice, really nice.
But there was one student, and her name, Daisy, she was called, and she made this little dress, and it had all little daisies on. So it was her little signature thing.
Oh.
So it was so sweet.
Yeah, bet it was.
Yeah. You know, and to see the students do things like that, you know.
It's amazing.
And it's you've created so many opportunities for people. So from colleges, it's like giving them real work experience and first hand, and on a really sensitive subject as well. You know, I think that's.
The students loved it though, because they get pizza on the last day. We're getting a pizza.
The thing is about Leslie, she's very humble about what she does. Instead of shouting from the rooftop, she's very, very humble about what she does, and the lives and the difference you've made in the area is huge.
And Natalie, it's good for me to know that you're so local, because I honestly didn't.
Yeah.
And it's not something we do a lot, but I have done quite a few baby funerals and toddlers.
Yeah.
You know? So it's, you know, we experience the grief with that family at the time, but it's great to pass them on to somebody else.
And you know, we're there because, you know, we can sit down, me and Lisa, and, you know, these people are finding rainbows have had different kinds of losses. You know, I'm hoping one of the girls that I've supported through her journey, she had a twin loss, but she's so close to my heart now. She's like my little sister. That's how close we are. And eventually she wants to come to Finding Rainbows and do something in around the twin side of loss. You know, maybe do a group for just twin loss. And, you know, there was another lady who we supported called Jen, went through many, many rounds of IVF. You know, her journey was massive, and her little boy, Samuel, you know, now she's gone on to have her baby Evelyn, and that wasn't even, you know, IVF just happened. You know, and they're just some of the stories of the people that are very special to me. You know?
Absolutely.
And so you're in Ashton, you've got a building which you're outgrowing, but you've just been awarded some more money, haven't you, some funding, which is going to help to impact even more projects.
Global Make Some Noise funding. So that was absolutely fantastic, and not a lot of people get through, so we're like, wow, you know, we managed to get through and get this funding.
That's amazing.
£50,500.
Brilliant.
And we've been lucky enough to get lottery funding as well.
It is absolutely amazing.
Because when you're making a difference, like what you're doing, like you set the charity, it's CIC,
It's a charity.
So you've set your charity up, like say, through the pain, but then you've been able to get funding, and then you've been able to employ people. You've created work for people, you've created opportunities for people, but most importantly, you've created a space that is needed. I feel like me and Caden, you know, this is like his journey, and I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like I'm just something he came, he was like that pebble in the ocean to change my life, because he literally did. You know, my life was very different before, and he came to say, no, this is the path you need to be on, Mum. You know, this is where we're going with it.
Maybe not on what we call the normal mother and son path. But you're on the mother and son path.
It's a spiritual connection. It's very different. And through him, he basically, I've done what I've done, you know, because
he'll be with you every day.
And that's the strength, isn't it? That's the strength and the power that's behind the project.
But seeing that everybody who comes to, I mean, we call Finding Rainbows because I say to people within Finding Rainbows, my goal is to, you know, bring that inspiration from other people, you know, like, so if they've got something that they want to do, you know, that they want to lead on, like in memory of their baby. We'll use Finding Rainbows. For example, one of the ladies made chocolates. She came to, you know, one of our bereavement groups and taught everybody how to make chocolates. And I said to her, you can have that kitchen. You know, put your baby's name on the kitchen and that be your room for making chocolates. And, you know, if people are going through the grief and then they need something to kind of focus on, we'll focus on that, because you need to take that and run with that, because that's what helps you through.
It is, and I think, like you say about the spiritual journey you're having, I'm not going to mention any names, but in my job, and maybe in your job too, we do experience different signs and different coincidences. And I had a little boy who was 5. I'll never forget him. His name was Arthur, bless him. I won't mention his parents' names, but when I was talking to his mum, I'm not going to tell you how he passed away or anything. He loved superheroes and he loved baddies as well. And he used to sit there and said to his mum, they think they're bad, but they're not. They're good, they just don't know it yet. And I took his fingerprints. We took one hand, that was lovely, came out normal, and then we did his other hand. And I swear to you now, every single print looked like a superhero. One looked like Spider-Man, one looked like Godzilla, one looked like a turtle with the mask. It was unbelievable. And when I gave the prints to, obviously, Mum and Dad, I'm like, I can't believe that. It was, but that was his little sign, I think.
Spiritual connection.
That will have carried on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll never ever forget that.
Never.
And it's hard because people might be out there thinking, oh, I don't believe in that.
They do,
unless you're part of it.
Want to admit it.
No. But unless you're a part of it, unless you've had your own experience of that level of connection, you know, then you can't explain that to everybody, and people have to find their own way.
Absolutely.
And their own signs.
Yeah. But it's wonderful what you do, and it must give you a lot of comfort.
It does. It's there's nothing like sitting with somebody else who you know, you feel the same, and just sitting, because you can offer the counselling, and the counselling is lovely, but it is very boundaried, in the sense of that counsellor can't divulge anything about themselves. I'm a qualified counsellor, but you can't. I don't do that through Finding Rainbows because people know me. You know, and I wouldn't want to do it from a counselling point of view, because I want people to be able to ask me questions. You know, share them feelings and emotions together in that moment, and that is so powerful.
It's that connection, isn't it? Like, I'm not going. These thoughts are not silly thoughts.
No,
they're going round in my head, and to speak to somebody, they might not even bring your thoughts, but you've already got that connection, because you're like, you know, I get it.
The Rainbow Baby mums, you know, we wrap them up in cotton wool. And it's like, I can't, like, you know, I'm really worried about them, you know, going to nursery or having a day without me, or, you know. And, you know, I'm saying, I've had my rainbow baby and my pregnancy went absolutely amazing, but in my head it wasn't. Every kind of appointment I was like, well, what's wrong there? You know, I feel like this, and they're like, there's absolutely nothing wrong on that scan picture. Your baby's perfect and going well. And I'm thinking, how's my body doing it? Because that's another side of it. When you're a woman and you're going through, and you've been through loss, you feel like this, your body's a failure, and your body can't do these things anymore. You blame yourself, and it's a huge thing, but to try and get out that mindset, you just can't through a pregnancy. You just don't think you're capable, or your body's capable, and something's going to go wrong.
You feel like it's out of your control, don't you?
But, you know, my baby were born 7 pounds 8 ounces, Oliver. And he's 6 now, and he's amazing. You know, he says to me, he says, Mummy, you know, I came down from the stars. I came from the stars to heal your heart.
Is that what he says?
Oh my God.
You'd have to speak to him, honestly, and that's not being fed from me.
You need to bring him in.
He'll do this for you, don't worry.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is so lovely.
Yeah.
So what are your plans moving forward with Finding Rainbows? How would, you had a, we all say this, don't we, so with a vision.
So the vision, the next steps of Finding Rainbows are the way of where I'd want it to be is we need a bigger building.
Yeah.
We need to be set up in different localities.
Yeah.
So like different pop-up Finding Rainbows here and
to
there.
expand out.
Expand out. We need more volunteers.
Yeah.
Volunteers is always hard,
massive.
isn't it?
Well, it is in the nature of things that we do, because I don't know what it is with looking at Finding Rainbows. I think they think straight away, oh, I can't deal, that loss. But it's not always. But the seamstresses come in, they have a laugh and they sat there, they're having a brew and they're making the gowns.
Having a chat.
Yeah,
and it's
not
all good.
It's not all,
I think sometimes it's about being part of a community, isn't it, and part of a connection with people, because there's so many people who are isolated out there who think they've probably got skills that they think that they don't think they could bring to the table, when in actual fact it could be like administration skills or things that you're struggling with.
Or facilitating a group for us. Like for instance, we have Taylor's Oldest Time. Taylor's Oldest Time is for the older generation who lost babies many years ago. And just didn't get that space to talk. And
that's gorgeous.
we had afternoon tea, scones, sit in the cafe that was open at the time next door.
Yeah.
And a few of them came, but then COVID it dwindled out a little bit.
Yeah.
We still support on a one-to-one, but they're not coming to the group as it was.
Yeah.
So we need a facilitator, we need a volunteer to facilitate that.
Right.
So if you're out there,
Yeah.
Finding Rainbows is looking for volunteers.
Yeah, we are.
Get in contact, because you've got a website and everything. We can put the website link underneath this as well.
Google the address.
Yeah, so
Get
it's
your number.
findingrainbows.org.
Yeah, and your name.
Yeah, Natalie Paul.
There we go.
We-
That's for
yeah.
Natalie.
Yeah. So we always ask our guests this one thing, Natalie, which is a spoonful of joy. So our ethos is with Morning Brew that the way to hopefully as a tool to get through grief is to find a spoonful of joy
Yeah, exactly.
in every day.
Exactly.
In every day.
The things where
your
we get that
mindset.
spoonful of joy is by connecting with each other and having our communities, bereaved families, dads included, the door is open to dads. Sometimes they come and handhold,
Yeah.
and don't necessarily want, get that support for themselves.
Yeah.
But, they're just as important.
Absolutely.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
But I think sometimes they feel like they've got to be the strength, they've got to be the
course
strong
they are.
one. And while they're being the strong one, they're actually grieving themselves.
Yeah.
But they feel as though maybe because they're not carrying the baby, because it's not physically happened to them, that
They've got to be the
that
strong
need,
one.
they've got to be there.
Even for the whole family, telling the mums and telling, on the phone that this has happened or this is happening. All that delivering of the news or arranging the funeral or, and it's hard because they go back to work, they don't get a lot of time off.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
And they go back to work and then they're in this world of, some men think, well, no, I'm going to get on with it. But eventually it does come back,
Yeah.
and when that happens, we're there for dad.
That's brilliant. So for dads, for mums, for grandparents,
For
for everybody.
siblings, for the whole family unit, for anybody affected by the loss of a baby or child.
Absolutely.
Even staff at the hospital, staff at funeral directors. Because
So we're going to pinpoint you down for your spoonful of joy. What would that be?
I'm probably not now. So my spoonful of joy, it'd be just that connection. I don't think any more than that.
Yeah.
So the spoonful of joy is sharing the connection of love, understanding of the grief of your little one, and being able to talk about them together.
Yeah.
We always talk about, Samuel and Caden and, all the different babies. We mention them and we talk about them as if they're very much with us. So that brings us joy when we do that.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, I've got a cuddle here. I can't not sit here and walk for a whole group on. But you just literally group up.
Oh, lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming on. And I know you had a really busy schedule today as well, so we really appreciate your time. And hopefully, when we go on YouTube, we'll put your link of your website underneath, and we'll make sure that hopefully you'll get some volunteers. So if you want to volunteer for finding makeup,
Yeah, come and see us.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So
Yeah.
nice to meet you, and obviously now I know you're around the corner.
Yeah, you have to pop round and see us.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
will.
I won't be far behind her.
Together, comes Cambridge. Keep seeing Steve sat there with his broom.
Always,
Yeah.
always,
Oh.
it's always
What's
there.
your spoonful, Georgia?
My spoonful of joy today would, I said it last time, but when we're filming the podcast, like when we're filming this, it does bring me so much joy because there's so many people doing great work
There is.
and not probably getting the recognition that they should, and going through the difficulties and then finding people like yourself who are an inspiration.
That's nice.
That's my spoonful of joy.
Yeah, we need to do it.
Oh, thank you.